Hi there, I'm Chris Devine and welcome to Six String World, and this is my 1993 PRS CE24 Maple Top. I picked this as my first show and tell, as it's the guitar I've held on to for the longest. I've had guitars come and go since I got this particular instrument. I got this used, mind you, in 1995, but this guitar has stayed around the longest. Back then I was playing modified Strats, even flirted with Les Paul for a little bit, and I was kind of looking for that hybrid of the two. Now back then there really wasn't a lot of choices for super Strats or anything like that. It was usually a Floyd Rose equipped type guitar, or you went vintage with a vintage Strat, or a Les Paul or a Tele or something like that. And I kept looking for that guitar that did what a Strat did and what a Les Paul did. And my friends finally suggested, well, you should just get a PRS. And back then I didn't know too much about them. So I wrote to them. I actually filled out on an envelope, sent a check for, I believe, $5. And I got this amazing catalog that was on par with what you would usually see in like a high-end watch catalog, or usually some really exotic sports car type catalog. And I gotta tell you, I started going down the rabbit hole, and I started looking for them at local shops. And unfortunately, there really weren't a lot of places that had them, but the places that did have them were very informative on sharing what these instruments were all about. And I started looking around, trying to find one that I could afford and one that I really connected with. I did not find this guitar, strangely enough. A couple of my buddies did. My buddy Jeff and Adam found it. They were on a business trip in Boston. They found it. I believe one of them may have even put money down to hold it for me, just so I could take a peek at it. And they actually went to a phone booth to call me and said they found a PRS that fit all my requirements. And they said, it's great, the price is right, you'll love it, and it's purple. And I said, I really don't want a purple guitar. And I've been eating those words ever since. And basically, I wasn't thinking of a see-through purple such as this, but I was thinking more of like candy apple, or the glitter or sparkle that you would normally see on like an 80s shred guitar. I was not really as familiar with the PRS finishing and stuff like that, where they really do, you can have some very unique colors that aren't gaudy, and this definitely worked for that. I ended up grabbing it, and it's perfect. It's a guitar I've pretty much used in every musical situation I've had since then. I have dabbled with other guitars, but I always come back to this one. And this past summer, I realized I had this guitar for 25 years. It's a 93, and I bought it used in 95. And I figured a refresh was in order. So I called my buddy Adam at AF Precision Setups, and we started walking through the idea of doing this and giving this like a bit of a resto mod treatment. And I can do a full narrative of how it got to this point, and all the changes that were done over the years, but there really weren't a lot. So, and that's really kind of a long story that's not really interesting to anybody but me. So I'll just go through it as it sits now. One of the things I did is I swapped out the tuners, which were originally the PRS winged tuners. These are actually Schaller M6s that do actually retrofit for the PRS drilling pattern that they happen to have, where they share a screw on the back. And these are actually very similar to the PRS Phase 2 locking tuners. First of all, I love locking tuners. not just for the stability, but the ability to change strings very quickly and very easily. So then we started working on the rest of the guitar. So we stripped the guitar down to pretty much all the electronics out of it, got the bridge off of it as well too. And Adam disassembled the bridge. We put it through an ultrasonic parts cleaner, and it got about 25 years of funk and junk and all the stuff that accumulates through gigs. We got made sure all the plating got cleaned up as well too. And you can see in parts of, I'll get it really close, but there's parts of the, you see in the bridge, some of the plating actually has worn off from my actual playing. I really don't care too much about that. It's the patina it's earned, as well as there's been some dings and some scratches all over the body. I got a good one right there. It's an honest guitar. It's earned these scratches. It's not relic, but it's also in a player's grade shape. It's an instrument that plays great, sounds great, and still looks honest as far as that goes. So we're able to go through all that. I'm going to throw some photos up as well during the teardown process, and you can actually see in some of those photos, you'll be able to see that where the knobs were and the bridge and the pickup rings and the knobs were, you'll see a much darker color. This was a much darker shade of purple when I did get it. It's really lightened up quite a bit. UV light really does a number on guitars. It's not surprising. It does to Les Pauls and Strats. It happens. It's not uncommon. And this has happened to other PRS guitars. I've seen some blue ones of the same time kind of really fade to almost like a slate gray, or almost like the way almost like an acid wash blue jean, but it actually looks really kind of cool. And I kind of like the way this came out. This is kind of like, I would call like a light purple now, but you'll be able to see in the photos I'll throw up, and you'll be able to see like all the differences in the color as it aged. And you know, it's kind of like when jeans break in again, like it's kind of like it's earned that, it's worn in, it's honest. I have had some minor fretwork done. There were a couple spills it took, falling off guitar stand. The strings dented some of them, but they still got plenty of meat on them. I wouldn't be surprised if it does need a fret job at some point. But the neck's also got plenty of honest wear. You can see all around here, and it feels great. It's broken in. It's a bolt-on, so it has that kind of Strat or Fendery type feel. And that was really what sold me on this guitar, because that was where I was coming from. I was coming from the Strat world, so this definitely felt a lot more familiar. And the original pickups in this guitar were a vintage bass in the neck and the HFS in the bridge. Now, I still have them. They're tucked away in a nice little storage bin. They still sound good, but I wanted to step out a little bit, but not step out too far. So what I ended up with is a Seymour Duncan 59 in the neck and a custom in the bridge. Now, each also has 4 conductor wiring, and they have chrome covers as well. Now, these sound very close to the vintage bass and the HFS, but they're a little bit brighter, they're a little bit punchier, they're a little clearer. Now, that might be because the older pickups are 25 years old. Pickups do degauss, they do lose some of their magnetic pull. That usually makes a lot of pickups sound sweeter. That's an argument that some players can definitely argue for and argue against as guitars get older. But I basically was looking to bring a little bit more life into it, but not go more than a couple steps past. So I really want to stay very close in that zone. So one thing I did notice is these pickups actually, they're not lacking. There's actually a little bit more. They're exactly what I wanted to do, is just a little bit more presence overall there, which is funny because the originals were uncovered pickups and these are covered pickups. Usually covered pickups take away, some players think that they add more bass or kind of block certain high frequencies or certain higher frequencies. So I have chrome covers on them, and I get a little bit more of a brighter tone while still maintaining the sound I really like, and it worked out well. I'm very pleased. I haven't had to convince myself that, oh, this was a good effort that I put into it. No, it actually did work quite well for what I was doing, which is excellent. One other thing I had to do is I originally had the PRS 5-way rotary switch. So these are wired up to a Dimarzio EP1111 switch, which is a four pole triple throw switch. Now, back in the day, John Petrucci of Dream Theater had this type of 3-way switch installed on his Ibanez guitars. And what he did was, in the middle position, he would engage the inside coils to give a stratier tone. And I figured, well, if it can do that, it would be able to give me the tones I was looking for. So what I wanted to do is play around with it. Instead of using the inside coils, I wanted the 2 outside coils. And that works, actually. This is a 4-pole switch, and it does do that. Now, originally I had the 5-way rotary switch. I had no problem using it. Some players usually do swap them out for a 3-way toggle and a push-pull. So they can get coil tapping, and that makes sense. I could have done that. It's a McCarty style wiring. It's available on a lot of PRS guitars. But what I wanted to do was basically be able to get the 3 tones I really wanted. The 5-way switch was great, but I was always skipping past a couple to get to the ones I wanted. And what I really liked was the bridge position in the back. In the middle, I wanted the 2 outside coils, as I mentioned, and the front, just the neck humbucker. And it basically gives me that ability without having to skip over there. So it's a lot simpler. It works. It gets the tones I want as I need them, and it works perfectly. Also, this chrome switch is also very low profile. It kind of reminds me of my old my Mini Cooper's toggle switches. So that was kind of a neat little aesthetic plus on it. The volume and tone pots were also swapped out. I have the factory spec capacitor on it, but I don't remember the value on it. So it's kind of let's put it this way, I'm happy with it overall. Finally, I topped it off with a set of some clear speed knobs. Originally had black knobs on there, and they were swapped up for some chrome Q parts ones a while back. I was going to try to get PRS's clear top hats, which is the current spec now, but the clear lampshades, I saw them during this summer. They were $65 a pair, and I believe that's probably due to supply chain issues during COVID. PRS was making guitars, and they were probably a little concerned with making sure they had knobs for guitars that were going out the door, not just people that wanted to do mods or changes. So I expected that's why the price was a bit high. Since then, they did come down to a reasonable $20, which they were before the pandemic, which is awesome. To get the knobs to fit on snugly, Adam had a really great idea. You have to make sure that the splines of the knobs actually match the splines of the potentiometer. So what these really didn't. I got these knobs off of Amazon. They're speed knobs. They're clear. They do the job. They're very close to what I had on there, just different color plastic. So Adam had this really great idea of taking an old pot and heating it up with a soldering iron and basically getting it very hot, and we pushed the knob onto the potentiometer, basically kind of melting some new grooves and moving the splines of the knob around. And we pulled it off, and then we decided we'd pulled off the test knob, which is an old knob that didn't really matter. It was dead. And we slid them back onto this, and they're very snug. They're very secure. And I don't think they're going to come off without a lot of force. I hope they don't need to come off anytime soon. I'll put it that way. So these worked out very well, and I'm very pleased with it. So all in all, the upgrade wasn't that much cost-wise. Pickups are about $100 or so a piece. The pots are and the caps about 25 or so. The switch was a bit pricey. It was about, I think, $30 or $40. So that's a bit of an upcharge compared to like a Switchcraft and maybe using a push-pull pot if you want that. So it worked out but I'm happy with it. I know a lot of players sometimes don't like any mods being done to their guitars. I know some players that when it gets to a point where a part breaks and they have to replace it, even with a factory part, they kind of cringe. I know what it's like. I'm not against that thought process where players think if it came out of the factory a certain way, there's no changing it. I've seen players take this to the extreme, not exploring any changes, and in some cases even basically, they want to make sure the guitar has the same strings that the factory put on it, or it's a real big issue for them. I've actually seen some guitars sell on some instruments because it didn't sound right. I actually saw a guy who didn't want to raise his pickup height. His Strat didn't have enough output that he wanted. I suggested raise the pickup height just to give you a little bit more. He didn't want to touch it, and he actually sold it at a loss, but he didn't want to change anything. His thought process was, the factory made it this way. That's the way I have to play it. That's the way it is. To each his own. Obviously, this project is the complete other side of the coin. Overall, I am extremely happy with how this came out. It stays in tune. It still plays fantastically. The overall output level and the tones are exactly where I like it. The switching does everything I need, and aesthetically, it looks fantastic. As with the right balance of chrome, the black plastic parts, the wood itself. It does everything I need to, and then some. And I'm very happy. I got to use this for a couple of gigs this summer. It's before it was changed and after we upgraded it. And I have to tell you, the second gig that I was able to do, it was very easy to, wasn't any problems adapting to that. So it wasn't like I had to relearn how to get to know this instrument. It worked perfectly right out of the bag. So it was great. I think it is kind of like how Jay Leno has a '59 Buick Roadmaster. It was his first car. He drove it to LA when he was a young comedian, and I think he even lived in it rather. Years later, I know he had it updated with a new crazy General Motors engine. He put some new paint on it, some modern comforts on there as well. So I kind of view it as something like that. It's a resto mod. It's been upgraded as it needed to, but still maintains its character. And like I said, I've played this guitar for 25 years. I don't think it's going to be going anywhere, so I don't really worry about devaluing it. So overall, this is hopefully going to be in my hands for another 25 years if I make it. That's probably going to be the deciding factor on that one. So if you have any comments or suggestions that you think I should have done with this, please feel free to post it in the area below. I'd love to hear what you would have done differently or what you think of how I turned this out. If you like this channel, please hit the subscribe button. You can hit the bell icon and you'll know when I put up a new video. And if you like this video, please give it the thumbs up. And if you want to share this, there's a button for that as well. You can share it with all your social media, text, or you can email links to this video as well. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.